Okay, this is going to be a quick overview of a build I'm working on for the Spiritborn in the Vessel of Hatred expansion. So, this is a combination of two different builds, really. The two different builds are the Quill Volley build and then the Evade build, as it's called. So, what we got going on here is crap equipment. Let's just be honest about it. I'm still only in the penitent level. I haven't unlocked uh, anything higher yet, so I've just been kind of trying to build the Quill Volley build. Uh, but then I came across this little article about an evade build that somebody was working on. So I looked into the evade build and was like, oh, let me try that too, uh, instead of the Quill Volley, because I was kind of hitting a leveling point with the Quill Volley. So I started looking at the evade build, and then I went back to the Quill Volley build, back to the evade, back to the Quill Volley, just kind of reading both. And I thought, there's got to be a way to combine these two. So that's what I did. So first thing I'll go over is the skill tree. It's pretty much the Quill Volley build for the um, skill tree for the most part, right? Everything is Quill Volley based except for one thing. The one thing that's not Quill Volley based is the Thunder Spike change here. Instead of using Rock Splitter or Thrash like some of them are using, I'm using Thunder Spike. Now I know Thunder Spike doesn't generate as much vigor as Rock Splitter, um, but the beauty of Thunder Spike is uh, you get 5 additional vigor if you're moving, right? So it technically spawns more vigor than Rock Splitter does. Rock Splitter taps out at 11, right? Um, but here we can get up to 14. So, and the reason why we're going to get up to 14 is because we're always going to be moving. Now, the other thing here is when you evade, you attack with Thunder Spike along the way and make enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. That's very important for the Quill Volley side, because the more vulnerable enemies we have, the stronger Quill Volley is, and the more it generates vigor. So, we want to make sure we have at least one in Thunder Spike, one in Enhanced Thunder Spike, and then one in Accelerated Thunder Spike to get the evade buff. So, how does that work with the Quill Volley? Well, as you can see here, I have Quill Volley as my number 4 key. Thunder Spike is my number 1 key. But I changed Evade to my number 5. And the reason I did that is so that I can just hold down 2, 3, and 4, which is triggering Ravager and Soar. Soar also makes things vulnerable. Ravager's increasing my damage, as you can see here. But I need 4 and 5 to be where I can just tap them. Just tap them. 4 and 5, 4 and 5, 4 and 5. And what that does is once Soar's triggered and Ravager's triggered, you're launching Quill Volley, but then you're evading, launching, evade, launch, evade, launch, evade, over and over and over and over and over again. And the beauty of that is especially in large groups of enemies, it's constantly keeping your vigor up. And you're doing mass amounts of damage, even at a very, very, very low level. So I'm going to demonstrate that in a Helltide here. Some of the things that you want to make sure that you're looking for with the evade build, you need the Sepozantic staff, which I do not have, obviously, and you need the Razor something or the other boots. I forget exactly what they're called, which helps with your cooldown on your evade. But there's also an aspect, or not an aspect, sorry, a tempering that you can do. You want to get a tempering for evading cooldown. On boots, that particular tempering that you're aiming for, if we were to go over here and load them up, is under mobility, I believe, and under natural motion. There's also spirit-born motion, but it doesn't give you the evade cooldown. And the evade cooldown is very, 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 very important, right? So the better an evade cooldown reduction you can get, the better off you're going to be. My cooldown reduction is enough right here at 14.3% that I'm pretty much able to evade and Quill Volley over and over and over again. And you'll see that. You'll see my evade drops really, really fast. Now, there's something else that's triggering a cooldown for me, but I'm going to be honest, I don't know what it is for sure. I was thinking it might be Ravager that's helping to trigger a cooldown, but I don't think it is. And it's not Soar or Seeker, sorry, and it's not Soar. So I'm not really sure what else is helping to trigger the cooldown. I've been trying to look for it. But my cooldown was going pretty quick even before I had the evade cooldown reduction. And it just seemed to be that as I was killing stuff, the evade cooldown was being reduced. Now, granted, these boots are a fairly new pair of boots for me because the previous boots I had on didn't have attacks reducing evades cooldown. And they didn't have the evade cooldown reduction tempering. So these were a new pair that dropped, and as soon as I saw that attacks reduce, I was like, oh yeah, we got to do that, and then try to get this evade cooldown reduction tempering on there. But something else, and it may be, I don't know, one of the other pieces of equipment's got something on it that was triggering it. I just don't know. But it was enough that I can just constantly evade and Quill Volley, and I'm just kind of running around crushing stuff. So if you're looking to do a Quill Volley build, which is a very powerful build, it's like supposed to be one of the best builds this season. Ooh, come on, I need to get that Torment. Then I suggest that you look at potentially combining the evade build with the Quill Volley build. Especially early on in leveling, it does fantastic, especially in large groups of enemies. So we'll get in here and we'll demonstrate that. Get our Ravager going, and then we can just sit here and evade Quill Volley. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just moving around. So the constant moving is keeping me from being hit by the enemies, dodging, right? And then I'm just going around killing stuff. And that's it. Now the nice thing is Thunder Spike is being cast every time I evade because of the Thunder Spike choices. So that's constantly generating vigor, which is allowing me to then pretty much keep a spam on the Quill Volley. Cast my vigor or Ravager every now and then, right? When Soar cools down, it'll cast. But it's just going through and killing everything. I mean, it's just... We'll cast Seeker here just to get some more vulnerability. And it's doing amazing. For, I'm just going to say it, a shit build. It's a crap build. I don't have gear worth of beans yet. I'm not even up in the higher levels yet to where I can get really good gear. But I'm thinking the evade build combined with the Quill Volley is going to be a seriously, seriously strong build. Especially once I get the staff that I need and the razor hack boot things, whatever they're called here. We'll scroll into this. I'm looking on the Icy Veins site for the evade build. The boots that we're looking for. Rakanoth's Wake. Those are the boots that we want. Rakanoth's Wake. Because when you cast a skill with a cooldown, you explode, dealing fire damage, but it also gives you evade cooldown, right? Like your evade cooldown just goes crazy, and it's like millisecond cooldown times. It's really ridiculous. As you can see, my evade resets really fast here, and as I temper, I thought I put that one in there. There we go. And as I temper and get higher evade choices on that and can raise it up to where the evade's cooldown is even faster, it's pretty much just going to be non-stop evade and Quill Volley. And then once I get to a point where I can use like the exploit glyph, I'm going to trade out the glyphs a little bit on the build for both evade and Quill Volley, because the exploit glyph makes everything vulnerable when you hit it. So I want to make things as vulnerable as possible, and what we're going to be going for here is a combination of vulnerability damage and critical strike damage, providing we can get our critical strike chance up high enough. If not, then I'm going to be aiming strictly for vulnerability at that point, because the more often you can make enemies vulnerable, the more damage you can do. But pretty much, as you can see, for being a crap build, it is just kind of killing stuff. She's dead already, and we're just killing everything around us. That Quill Volley gives you a massive AoE area, and then the evade makes for a nice single point target kind of attack. Again, you really need the good cooldown on the evade. And as you can see, I think it's the Ravager somehow, because the minute I trigger Ravager seems to affect that cooldown, and my cooldowns go a lot faster while Ravager is active. So I don't see anything specifically that talks about that, but it's got to be Ravager triggering it. I'm not sure what else it would be. So look at the cooldown. Look at the cooldown. The minute I triggered Ravager, the cooldown on evade is just going nuts, and I'm able to keep up evade and volley at the same time. So hopefully I'm the first to bring this kind of a build to the new season and the expansion pack. I know a lot of people are either doing evade or they're doing Quill Volley, but I'm going to call this the evade volley build. I can't think of a better name, but I think it's doing great as a combo of these two, so that I can get a nice wide area of effect damage as well as single target damage with that evade. And of course, you know, we're going to use our rushing claw here, which damages but at the same time also staggers, so we can use that on big bosses, elites when need be. As you can see, I'm not even using Seeker at this point. I'm pretty much saving Seeker for when there is a big boss in the pits and stuff. It's just a waste otherwise for me to use it. So I'm going to teleport back to town real quick, and we'll go over it again real fast so I can get back into the Helltide and try to earn some stuff. Oh, we picked up some more here. Good. Cooldown and Thunder Spike size and stuff. All right. So that's it, right? We got Quill Volley on our two-handed weapon. I know a lot are recommending to put that on the amulet. They're saying you're going to change your weapon out. And down the road, yes, this Quill Volley will have to go on the amulet, especially once I get the Sepozantic staff, which is going to help with the evade as well. And then we'll move Quill Volley over here to our amulet once we get a better amulet. But right now I'm running Quill Volley on the two-handed to get the damage out of it, and then I'm mixing that with the Sur rune and the Gar rune, as you can see, because if I cast the same non-channeled skill 3 times in a row, now 1 time, because I've upgraded the rune a bit, I get a 2.5% critical strike chance for 5 seconds, right? So that's where I was saying I'm trying to aim for a critical strike damage combination in conjunction with vulnerability. So as you can see on the staff, I've got critical strike damage, but I've also tried to get it to get resource cost reduction so that when I'm casting Quill Volley, it's cheaper. Right now we're down to 28 from 35. So with masterworking and things of that nature, that's going to go even lower eventually. Hopefully we can get it low enough to where the generation is higher than the cost is. That's the end goal. Here, as you can see on the boots, I went for the evade cooldown reduction and soar size. So I can get more vulnerability going because I got vulnerability on the rings. So I'm trying to use the rings to cover my vulnerability damage, but also either resource generation or resource cost reduction on the rings. I'll take either one, preferably cost reduction on this ring. I unfortunately only got generation, and I didn't want to risk it again trying to get the cost reduction. I might try risking retempering it, but we'll see. The pants, you get resolve for anything over 100 in vigor for Spiritborn, and I'm not really sure exactly how the resolve helps you yet. Haven't really dug into it, but it was recommended for like the Quill Volley build, so I'm leaving it on there. The gloves, I went with my Thunder Spike size, so I'm hitting more stuff with Thunder Spike in a wider area every time I evade, which of course the more stuff I'm hitting with a bigger size, the more generation I'm getting on my vigor, right? But you can see here I imprinted it with the accelerating critical strikes with core skills increase my attack speed, so that's so I can just constantly move over and over and over again. Quill Volley is a core skill, so we need that, right? And that's a very important skill enhancement. So when we're hitting with that Quill Volley, it's increasing our attack speed with everything else, and we're just flying around and evading everything and dodging everything. And as you saw when I was doing that bit of a hell tide, my health barely got touched. So definitely want to have that on the gloves for now. The 1% block chance per resolve stack was recommended off the Quill Volley, so I'm guessing that is why we have the resolve on the pants, so that as we gain our vigor and our vigor goes up over 100, we get the resolve. The resolve then triggers the block chance on our chest piece, right? So up here on the helmet, when you cast a skill, you heal for 1.5% life, and you get double that bonus if you're below 50% life. So that's helping to keep me healed at all times. I really didn't have any good mix of runes to put in here, so I just put drink the potion and get one primary resource. Hopefully as I find better runes, I'll find a different combination to stick in there, and I will do so. Over here I'm using Starlight on the amulet because I get 43.5 of my primary resource for every 20% of my life that I heal, or 120% life that I overheal while at maximum life. So if my life goes down, I'm popping a potion and I'm going to get, 43% or 43 primary resource, right? When I need to pop a potion. Every now and then I might just pop a potion for the sake of popping a potion, just to keep my vigor up. On my first ring, I'm using the Accursed Touch, right? We get 35% chance for our skills to inflict vampiric curse on enemies, and enemies afflicted with vampiric curse are also vulnerable. So we're trying to constantly keep everybody vulnerable so that our vulnerable damage is high, but also we want critical strike damage at the same time and critical strike chance if we can do that. I have yet to see the Stored Souls part get released, but maybe it's happening so fast I don't notice, but I haven't seen it. Here I'm using the Fell Soothsayers. When you cast an incarnate skill, enemies around you become vulnerable for 5 seconds. Killing a vulnerable enemy echoes 19% of the killing blow's damage to another nearby enemy. Again, this is an important one for vulnerability damage. Now it's triggered on an incarnate skill. So how does that work? Where is it? Ravager. Ravager is an incarnate skill. So as long as Ravager is up and running, this is getting triggered, right? As soon as I cast it. So, boom. I cast it as quick as I can when I go in. It makes everybody vulnerable. Soar then happens. Everybody gets vulnerable for sure. And then Quill, Volley, and Evade are just kind of going through and killing everything. As we can see here, I'm still working on getting cold resistance and shadow resistance up. I may trade out this skull here on the armor side and put a diamond in there to get resistances up. So you can see critical strike chance is only 9%. Critical strike damage is pretty low here. But vulnerable damage is also a little low. But you see that I'm kind of still going through and crushing stuff, right? Because everything's staying vulnerable. It's been working so far. It's been a great build. I have no complaints. I can't wait to expand it a bit more. Again, here on the Paragon board, I am using the Icy Veins Evade build Paragon board. But I'm changing up some of the glyphs that I'm going to use. I know for a fact I'm going to change them up. I want to say that the Paragon board doesn't even use Talon on it in any of the, or yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. On the final board, it uses Talon, right? And Talon's a very important one because your Eagle skills deal increased critical strike damage. So again, if we can get our critical strike chance up higher with equipment and stuff, we're going to do a lot more damage. And then, of course, one of the things I want to work in, I think it's called Fitness. Fitness. Skills that critically strike generate 3 vigor. So if we can get our critical strike chance higher and do more critical strike damage, we can get more vigor. And the more vigor we have, the more often we can spam Quill, Volley in conjunction with Evade and never have to worry. I mean, those two will just be constantly going, constantly going. It's a 2-button hit. I know Evade's a 1-button hit, but this is a 2-button hit. And occasionally, if your keys are set up right, you just hold down keys 2, 3, spam 4 and 5 for your Quill, Volley, and Evade. And then every now and then, tap your spacebar with your thumb to hold still in place, which then auto-triggers the Ravager and the Soar, and then you let off real quick, and then you just keep going around and just crushing stuff. So, but again, this is the Icy Veins Evade build for the Paragon board, and that's what I'm going for here. I like this Paragon board versus the Quill Volley Paragon board overall, but I'm gonna. Oop! I got mail. But I'm going to gear it a little bit towards the Quill Volley in here as well, so that I'm balancing out those two things, and we'll see how it goes. And I'll keep you up to date. Enjoy!